heart went.
In this video, we're going to learn about inverse Laplace transform by partial fraction decomposition. For our first example, we have s plus 4 divided by s plus 1 times s plus 2. So if you're going to notice, this particular subsidiary function has a denominator wherein if we expand this, we'll come up with the trinomial. But this trinomial is not a perfect square trinomial, but it is a trinomial which will give us linear, non-repeated factors. So this will fall on first case of partial fraction decomposition. And with first case of partial fraction decomposition, we simply equate the given fraction. So we're going to decompose this into several simpler fractions, wherein it will be easier for us to solve for its inverse Laplace. So if it's non-repeated linear factors, we're going to have as many fractions as the number of non-repeated linear factors that you have in the denominator. So since we have two factors here, we'll be having two fractions on the right side, which will represent the decomposition of the original fraction given. So we're going to use each of the factors as the denominator of the decomposed partial fractions. So you'll get s plus 1 here and then s plus 2. And then we represent the numerators by uppercase English alphabet to indicate constants that we have to solve for, so that we'll be able to represent this into these two fractions. So if you can decompose the fraction into partial fractions, it will be a lot easier for us to take the inverse Laplace transform. Okay, so to solve for the values of a and b, conventionally what we do is multiply both sides of the equation by the original denominator. So we're going to multiply both sides by s plus 1 times s plus 2. So it will be cancelled on the left side. You'll get s plus 4 on your left hand side. And then for the first fraction, multiplied by s1 plus s2, s plus 1 will be s plus 1 times s plus 2. So s plus 1 will be cancelled. You'll get a times s plus 2. Plus, going into the second fraction, you have b over s plus 2 times this. So you'll get to cancel s plus 2. You'll have b times s plus 1. After this, we are going to expand the right side of the equation. We will not do anything on the left-hand side of your equation, so it will remain the same as s plus 4. We expand this as as plus 2a plus bs plus b. Afterwards, we group similar terms. So you have here, remember a and b are constants. So, since this is as and this is bs, both are s terms, we can take a plus b and factor out the common term s. Okay, that's as plus bs. And then since a and b are constants, it means 2a and b are constants. So you'll get plus 2a plus b will represent your constant term. And then by equating coefficients, so ibig sabihin, titingnan mo yung left side ng equation mo. Tapos, since you have an s term here, hahanapin mo yung s term sa right side. At yung s term mo sa right side, ito yun. Ito yung expression with s as a variable. So, ang gagawin lang natin, i-equate natin yung coefficients ni s. So, on the right side, ang coefficient ni s dito is si a plus b. And then, on the left side, ang coefficient ni s dito is 1. Kaya, naka-equate ito kay 1. After that, we get the constants naman. So, what else do we have? We have constants here. So, you have 2a plus b as your constants. And on your left side, you also have a constant which is 4. So, we'll just equate the two of them. So, you have there 2a plus b is equivalent to 4. And then, you can use your calculator to solve for a and b. Or if you want, you can solve this manually. Okay, so if I do it manually, I can subtract both equations. I'll get negative a minus 2a, I'll get negative a, b minus b will be cancelled, and that would be equivalent to 1 minus 4, which is negative 3. So in short, a will be equivalent to 3, if you divide or multiply both sides by -1, and using one of the two equations, we can solve for b. So let's say we substitute a equal to 3 to this equation. So that would be 3 plus b. I have substituted the value of a in this equation. So it became 3 plus b equal to 1. By this, I can solve for b by transposing the constant to the right side. I'll get 1 minus 3, which means b is equivalent to -2. After solving for the values of the constants that we need in your partial fractions, we have not yet taken the inverse Laplace. So, ang ginawa lang natin dito is, instead of a complicated or complex fraction wherein hindi natin siya directly matransform pabalik to its original function or variable, it will be easier to decompose it into simpler fractions where it will be easier for us to take its inverse Laplace. So in short, if a is equivalent to 3 and b is -2, this will be 3 over s plus 1 and -2 over s plus 2. So, writing it here, ibig sabihin, we will be taking the inverse Laplace transform of a is equivalent to 3, so that would be 3 all over s plus 1 plus b, which is -2, all over s plus 2. Upon having solved the equivalent partial fraction of the original given, pwede na natin itong i-inverse Laplace kasi mas madali na, diba? This simply means you're going to take the inverse Laplace transform of 3 all over s plus 1 plus the inverse Laplace transform of -2 all over s plus 2. So this is e raised to 80, right? Sa inverse Laplace transform. Lalabas lang natin yung constant. You get 3. And then you simply take the inverse Laplace of 1 all over s plus 1. So that's e raised to 80. Ganito yung sagot ni e raised to 80. And that's e raised to s minus 8 dapat. So magiging -1 or -t. Simply -t. Then I'll factor out the -2. So I'll have -2. And then take the inverse Laplace transform of 1 all over s plus 2. And in that case, that would be e raised to -2t. And this will be our answer for the inverse Laplace transform of s plus 4 all over s plus 1 times s plus 2. Alternatively, when we're getting the partial fraction decomposed version of the given, since this is, di ba, if you have s plus 4 all over s plus 1 times s plus 2, we equate this to a all over s plus 1 plus b all over s plus 2. This is the representation of your partial fraction. Now, what we did kanina was the conventional way of coming up with the values of a and b. But there are shorter ways wherein pwede nating masolve yung values na yun. Other references call it residual method, wherein if you're going to solve for a, for example, you're going to multiply its denominator to the given. So, ang mangyayari ngayon dito, you get s plus 1 multiplied by the given, which is s plus 4 over s plus 1 times s plus 2. And then, substitute s equal to -1. In place of s, you will substitute -1. Saan po galing yung -1? The denominator of a, kung alin yung sinosolve natin, that's s plus 1, equated to 0. So, that would be s plus 1 equal to 0. Solving for s, you get -1. So, ang mangyayari, you'll be able to solve this with s plus 1 cancelled. Tapos, in the remaining terms, you're going to substitute -1. So, that would be -1 plus 4 all over -1 plus 2. And that gives you 3 over 1, or simply positive 3. And this is the same answer we had kanina when we solved it conventionally. So, if I'm solving for b, it means I will multiply the given by its denominator. So, that's s plus 2 multiplied by s plus 4 all over s plus 1 times s plus 2. And in this case, s plus 2 will be cancelled. And then the remaining terms will have to be substituted with s equal to what? So, i-equate mo lang to sa 0, yung denominator ni b. And that will give you s equal to negative 2. So if s is negative 2, you'll get for s plus 4, you'll get negative 2 plus 4 all over, you have here negative 2 plus 1. So you have positive 2 over negative 1. You get negative 2 for the value of b. And this is easier. Okay? If you do not want this, because ina-accept natin ito sa culture natin sa EE, meron tayong tinatawag na takip method ni Sir Solis, or parang on the green side, it's the finger method. Because you're going to use your fingers to cover. Ganon din. Ang difference lang is, same siya ni residual method. Ang difference lang is, we're not anymore writing this, all of this. We simply cover the term. For example, I'm solving for A, so this is s plus 1. I'm going to cover s plus 1 here. Tatakpan ko lang siya. And then, di ba ito yung natira? Ito yun. Same lang. Yung denominator na to, you're going to equate it to 0 so that you get s equal to negative 1. Tapos, yung negative 1 na yun, isasubstitute mo yun dun sa matitira from the ones na Yung negative 1 na yun, yung isasubstitute mo dun sa mga natira. After mo tinakpan yung denominator ng fraction na sinusolve natin, ng constant na sinusolve natin. So, yung negative 1 dito, substitute mo na lang. So, you'll get negative 1 plus 4, that's 3. Negative 1 plus 2, that's positive 1. So, you get 3 over 1. So, A is 3. Okay, so it doesn't matter if ipapakita pa ba yun or hindi na, as long as you show me that A is 3 and B is 2. So, B is negative 2. There's no problem on that. Moving on to our second example, we have to solve for the inverse Laplace of s squared plus 9s plus 6 all over s cubed plus 4s squared plus 3s. So obviously, this is something that we cannot solve using the basic methods that we know. So, talagang partial fraction decomposition yung way para ma-solve natin siya. So, ibig sabihin, kailangan marunong kayo mag-factors, di ba? But since you have your calculators, so wala namang problema. You can use your calculator for cubic. You have mode 5. Cubic is 4, ax cubed. Just make sure that the functions are equated to 0. But since function to, it's not an equation. So, wala tayong problema dun. And the terms are arranged in decreasing order. So, you get a coefficient of 1 for s cubed, a coefficient of 4 for s squared, a coefficient of 3 for s. We do not have a constant in this function, so that would be 0. If you press equals, it will give you the roots. Okay, these roots, negative 1, negative 3, and 0, represent the factors ng ating denominator. So, if you're going to write that down, your s cubed plus 4s squared plus 3s will be equivalent to s. This is negative 1. So, you'll transpose it to the left side. Kasi, ang idea dito is yung factoring natin before. How do I show that? Sige. Let me factor this manually. So, this particular function here, s cubed plus 4s squared plus 3s, nung nag-aaral tayo ng algebra, and when we were manually solving for its factored form, what do you call this? Common monomial factor is s, di ba? So, if I factor out s, I'll be left with s squared plus 4s plus 3. After that, I'll have to think of, so I'll get s. This is a quadratic expression. So I have to think of the factors of 3, which will result to a sum of 4. And that gives you 3 and 1. And that represents s plus 3 and s plus 1. So, if you expand, that would be s squared, positive 3s, positive s, that's 4s, times positive 3. To get the roots, ang ginagawa natin dito is, we equate each of the factor to 0. So, that means you get s equal to 0. Each of the factor, s plus 3 equal to 0. And s plus 1 equivalent to 0. By solving for s in each of these equations, you get s equal to 0 for this. It's obvious na. For this, you get s equal to negative 3. And for this, you get s equal to negative 1. Okay? At ito po yung lalabas sa calculators natin. Ang ibibigay sa atin ng calcu are roots. So, if I was able to get a root of negative 1, it means ito yung itsura ng equation ni negative 1 na yun. You get there x equal to negative 1, where this x sub 1 represents your s variable here. So, ang gagawin nyo lang is, simply transpose this to the left, which means you'll get an s plus 1 as a factor, transpose to the left, with negative 3, it means you have to transpose it to the left, so you get s plus 3. And if one of the root is 0, it means the other factor is simply s. Kasi if you transpose 0 to the left side, it's still 0. So it means you get s equal to 0. And this gives you the factored form of this denominator. Therefore, s squared, the given s squared plus 9s plus 6 all over s cubed plus 4s squared plus 3s, or should we write this in its factored form? We get s plus 1, and s plus 3. You can write it in any manner. This, in partial fraction, this is equivalent to your a over s plus b all over s plus 1 plus c all over s plus 3. And after that, we're going to multiply this given by the original denominator given by s cubed plus 4s squared plus 3s. So you'll have your s cubed plus 4s squared plus 3s. Or if you want, you can multiply naman using the factored form. So you get s plus 1, s plus 3. Kayo pang bahala. Nagets nyo naman yan, di ba? So on the left side, makakancel ngayon ito. Similar lang to ha. This will be cancelled. You'll get s squared plus 9s plus 6. That would be equivalent to, we're going to multiply this to every term on the right side. So you'll get a times s plus 1 times s plus 3 plus b times s plus 3 plus c times s plus 1. Our next step to this is expand the right side without doing anything on our left side. Kasi after that, we're going to equate coefficient. So, hindi mo pwedeng ibuin yung left side po. Okay? So, we're going to expand the right side. The right side will give us, let me just move my equation here. So, you get s squared plus 9s plus 6. That would be equivalent to, this is s squared plus 4s, diba? O, sige, isa-isahin ko ba? A times, so s squared, first, outer FOIL method, 3s, inner, s, so we have 4. We have 3. Ano ba yan? Okay. Plus b multiplied by s squared plus 3s plus c times s squared plus s. After that, distribute our constants a, b, and c. So this will be as squared. Yung s natin dito is 4s times a. So you'll get 4as plus 3a plus, this is bs squared plus 3bs plus cs squared plus cs. After this, so your left side is still s squared plus 9s plus 6. We are going to group similar terms on the right side. So on the right side, the highest degree term is an s squared. You have 3 terms na may s squared. You have as squared, bs squared, and cs squared. So ang gagawin ko dito, I'm going to factor out s squared on this 3. You will be left with a plus b plus c multiplied by s squared. And then I'm going to cross this out para hindi ako malito sa kanila. Next is the first degree term. So we have 4as, 3bs, and cs. And in this 3s is common. So I'm going to factor out s. I'll be left with 4a plus 3b plus c times s. Okay? And then, I'm going to cross them out because I'm done with them. And then, afterwards, ano pang tira? I only have 3a na lamang on my right side. And this is equivalent to s squared plus 9s plus 6. So, after that, we're going to equate coefficients. So, mag-start tayo dun sa second degree term. Ano po? So, for the s squared term, the coefficients are a plus b plus c equal to the s squared term on the left has a coefficient of 1. Next, let's proceed with the s term, first degree term. Kunin natin yung s term sa right side. Ang coefficient niya ay 4a plus 3b plus c. And equate it to the s term on the left side. Hanapin mo yung s term sa left. Kunin mo yung coefficient niya, that's 9. And then afterwards, what else do we have? We still have a constant. So, ang constant natin sa right side is a 3a. And equate it to the constant on the left side. So, yung constant mo sa left side, that's 6. Okay? If you want, you can use your calculator, 3 equations, 3 unknowns, to solve for a, b, c. Or if you want, you can solve for one of the constants already since it is obvious on this third equation that a will be equivalent to 2 if you solve for it. Okay? Pero kung gusto mo mapabilis yung trabaho natin, calculate tayo. Mode 5, 2, for 3 equations, 3 unknowns. So, my sequence would be a, b, c. Therefore, I have 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, equal to a constant of 1. Second equation, I have 4, 3, 1, 4, 3, 1, and my constant is 9. And then for the third equation, I have 3. B is 0. I do not have a B variable here. I do not have C, but I have a constant which is 6. So if you equate that, it should result that A is equivalent to 2. And yes, A is equivalent to 2, right? Kasi ang sequence na lalabas, A, B, C then, which means A will be equivalent to 2, B would be equivalent to 1, and C is equivalent to negative 2. Okay, so trying out the alternative na ginawa natin kanina yung sinasabi natin, residual or yung ating mas madali finger method, para lang mapakita ko ulit siya sa inyo. So you have s squared plus 9s plus 6 all over. I'll write the denominator in factored form na po. So that would be s times s plus 1 times s plus 3 ulit. And then equate it to the representation of my partial fractions, which is a over s plus b all over s plus 1 plus c all over s plus 3. And then afterwards, anong gagawin? So, if I'm solving for a, I will cover its denominator, which is s, in the left side of the equation. So, i-cover ko dito yung s. And then afterwards, I'm going to equate this denominator to 0, which means s is 0. So, if s is 0, substitute mo ngayon siya dito and solve. So, ibig sabihin nito, magiging 0 plus 0 plus 6. You get 6 in the numerator divided by 1. 0 plus 1 is 1 times 3. So, you get 3 in the denominator. So, 6 divided by 3, you get 2. Next, if I'm going to solve for b naman, since ang denominator ng b ko sa right side is s plus 1, I'm going to cover s plus 1 here. And then, s plus 1 will be equated to 0 para makuha ko si negative 1, the value of my s. So, my s will be negative 1. I'll substitute negative 1 here. If you want, you can use your calculator for that. So, this is s squared, which means negative 1 squared plus 9 times s is negative 1 plus 6, okay, divided by s, which is negative 1, times s plus 3. And that's negative 1 plus 3. Equate that, you'll get b equal to 1. Sabi sa calcu, 1. Okay, next, lastly, you get c. So if I'm solving for c, I have to cover s plus 3 here on the left side, and then equate s plus 3 to 0, so you'll get s equal to negative 3. That value negative 3 will be substituted here sa mga matitira dito sa left side mo. So we'll get our calculator again for that. You have negative 3 squared plus 9 times negative 3 plus 6. And then divide that by s times s plus 1, where s is negative 3. So divide that by negative 3 times negative 3 plus 1. Equate that, you'll get c equal to negative 2. So this is a lot easier than doing the conventional. And I will allow you to do both, or to do either of the two. Depende po sa inyo. Okay? Going back, so hindi pa tayo nakapag-solve baka isipin nyo nag-solve tayo. So ibig sabihin yung given will be equivalent to the inverse Laplace transform of A, ito, A over S, so that's 2 over S, plus B. B is 1, so that's 1 over S plus 1, plus C. C is negative 2. C over S plus 3. So, plus negative 2 all over S plus 3. Upon writing it in partial fractions, pwede nang diretsong inverse Laplace. You do not need to show me na kailangan pang pakita yung isa-isang i-inverse Laplace. No, pwedeng diretso na po. So, ang final answer natin dito would be, if it's 2 over S, it means it came from a constant that is 2. Okay, plus, this is 1 all over an S minus A. So, you get E raised to, this is S plus 1. So, magiging negative to, negative T. And then, since may constant, I'll just factor it out, negative 2. And since this is S plus 3, I'll get an E raised to negative 3T. For our third example, we have here the inverse Laplace transform of 4S plus 5 over S minus 1 squared times S plus 2. So, this particular example is an example wherein you have repeated linear factors. So, you have a linear factor here, which is S minus 1. Kaso naulit siya. Kasi you have a square here. Ibig sabihin, dalawang beses you get S minus 1 times S minus 1 times S plus 2. Naulit si S minus 1. So, to solve this, diba ang ginagawa natin kapag may repeated linear factor, by partial fraction, this would be equivalent to the inverse Laplace transform by partial fraction. Bali, tatlong fractions to. You will have A over 1 of the S minus 1s. Kasi dalawang S minus 1 to, diba? So, kuha ka ng isa. And then, it will be followed by another partial fraction, let's say B. Tapos, yung denominator niya, from S minus 1, magiging squared na. Increasing, hanggang sa maabot mo kung ilan ito. So, halimbawa, if this is S minus 1 to the 4th, magkakaroon ka ng hanggang D dito. A over S minus 1, B all over S minus 1 squared, C over S minus 1 cube, D all over S minus 1 to the 4th. Hanggang maabot mo yung degree ng given. Or yung number of repetitions ng given. So, mangyayari yung denominator mo dito, increasing siya. Okay? From S minus 1 to S minus 1 squared. And after that, do not forget, you still have one more linear factor. So, we'll get an additional C all over S plus 2. So, ganun pa rin. Walang changes dun sa numerator. It's still A, B, C, etc. Ang nagkaroon lang ng changes yung denominator for the portion or for the part wherein repeated yung linear factor mo. And then after this, we'll proceed with the usual that we do. Yung conventional natin, ano? So, that would be 4S plus 5 over S minus 1 squared times S plus 2. So, this will be equivalent to A over S minus 1 plus B all over S minus 1 squared plus C all over S plus 2. And then after that, we multiply both sides of the equation by the denominator, S minus 1 squared times S plus 2. So, I'll multiply the left side also, wherein this will be cancelled. So, sa left side, may matitira akong numerator, which is 4S plus 5. And then, that would be equivalent to, so distributing this to every term, you will have A times S minus 1 times S plus 2, right? Maka-cancel yung isang S minus 1. And then plus B, cancel si S minus 1 squared times S plus 2. And then you have C times S minus 1 squared, cancel si S plus 2. Afterwards, ganun ulit. Expansion on the right side, you have 4S plus 5 on the left, ganun pa rin, no changes. But we're going to expand this. So, let's expand the S terms first. So, that would be A times, this is S squared, plus S, negative 1 times 2 minus 2, plus B times, I will not expand this yet para sabay-sabay, plus, I'll expand this binomial. So, you have C times S squared minus 2S plus 1. And then, I'll distribute the ABC terms. So, you have 4S plus 5 equal to, distributing, you have AS squared plus AS minus 2A plus BS plus 2B plus CS squared minus 2CS plus C. Okay, after that, group together similar terms. So you have 4s plus 5 equal to second degree terms. So I have as squared and cs squared. So I'll have a plus c times s squared, right? Cancel. And then I'll get first degree terms. You have as, bs, to cs. So factoring s, you'll get positive a, positive b, and negative 2c, all multiplied by s. So I'll cancel this na, para lang may palatandaan ako. And then the constants. So plus the constants, you have negative 2a, okay, positive 2b, and positive c. And then afterwards, equate coefficients on both the left and the right side. So you'll get for s squared, on the right side, you have a plus c. And on the left, hanapin mo yung s squared term sa left. Walang s squared terms. Ibig sabihin, 0. Okay? Hanapin natin si s term. So, ang s term natin ay a plus b minus 2c. Okay? Tapos, hanapin mo si s term sa left. So, ang s term natin dito is 4s, which means this is equivalent to 4. And then, lastly, you have your constants. That's negative 2a, positive 2b, positive c, and therefore, that's equivalent to 5. Kasi 5 yung constant mo sa left. And then, use our calculators to solve for a, b, c. So, you get mode 5 to. So, you have 1, 0, 1, 0. For this, you get 1, 1, negative 2, positive 4. And lastly, you get negative 2, positive 2, positive 1, and positive 5. Equate that, you'll get the answers in the sequence A, B, C. So you have A is 1/3, B is equivalent to 3, and Z is negative 1/3. Solving this using our technique, yung ginawa natin kanina. So dito na lang ako magbe-base. Therefore, if I'm going to equate s minus 1 to 0, I'll get s equal to positive 1. If I do that, ibig sabihin, s minus 1 should be covered. So, mangyayari, ang mako-cover ko, s minus 1 squared. Kasi hindi naman ako pwedeng kumuha ng s minus 1 lamang. 'Di ba? I have to use this one because if I set this equal to 0, I'll get s equal to positive 1. At kapag kinover ko siya dito, kailangan si s minus 1 squared. Because if not, it will cause an undefined answer. So, ibig sabihin, if I set s minus 1 equal to 0, I'll get s equal to positive 1. Ang makukuha kong sagot kay B. Kasi hindi natin maiiwasan na may matirang isa pang s minus 1 dun sa ating original function, ano? So, if I'm going to cover this, I'll get s equal to 1. This will be 4 times 1. That's 4 plus 5. That's 9. Divided by 1 plus 2, which is 3. So, 1 plus 9 divide 3, you'll get 3 as an answer. Which means B is equivalent to 3. Okay? For s plus 2, if I'm going to equate s plus 2 to 0, I'll get s equal to negative 2. So, I'm going to cover this and substitute negative 2 to the remaining terms. So, you'll get here negative 8 plus 5. That's negative 3 all over s negative 2 minus 1. So, that's negative 3 squared. That's positive 9. So, I have here negative 3 over 9, that's negative 1/3 for C. And if you're going to compare, tama tayo dito. Ang problema, we do not anymore have any other terms to equate to 0 kasi dadalawa lang naman yung linear factors natin, di ba? S minus 1 and S plus 2. Ang problema lang, si S minus 1 na ulit. So, how are we going to solve for A? So, solving for A, ang gagawin nyo po, you're going to assign any value for S. So, normally, we always use it's either we use s equal to 0, negative 1, positive 1. So, gamit lang kami ng number or constant that we haven't used yet. And then what you're going to do is substitute this to the working equation we had kanina. Knowing this, knowing the values b and c, we're going to substitute 0 in place of s in the working equation that we had when we multiplied both sides of this by the denominator. So, in that case, you have there 4 times s is 0 plus 5. Diba? Equal to, you have there a times s minus 1. So that's 0 minus 1. Times s plus 2. That's 0 plus 2. Right? Plus b times, you have there s plus 2. So that's 0 plus 2. Okay, but in place of b, may sagot tayo dun. So that's 3. And then plus c, may sagot na rin tayo. That's negative 1/3. So c times s minus 1 squared, di ba? So you have s 0 minus 1 squared. Okay, you will have this equation wherein we can solve for a. So if I'm going to take my calculator, that would be 5 minus, I'll transpose this to the left. That's 3 times 2. Minus, I'll transpose this to the left ulit. It's negative 1/3 times positive 1. Diba kinalky pa? Okay? Divide both sides by, this is negative 1 times positive 2. So, divide both sides by negative 2. You'll get a equal to 1/3, which is similar to what we did conventionally or manually. Okay? So, pag repeated linear factors, ganun lang po ang gagawin. We can still use yung takip or finger method natin to solve for some of the terms. Pero para dun sa mga terms na nanggaling dun sa lower degrees of the repeated factors, pwede kayong mag-assign ng any value for s and then substitute it to the working equation we had. Yung in-expand natin, yung expanded form natin when we multiplied both sides of the equation by the denominator. So with these answers, let's solve for the inverse Laplace. It means we're solving for the inverse Laplace of a. What's a? A is 1/3 over s minus 1 plus b is 3 all over s minus 1 squared plus c is negative 1/3 all over s plus 2. So solving for the first term, I can factor out the constant, that's 1/3. And then multiply this with the inverse Laplace of 1 all over s minus 1. So this will fall under e raised to 80, where a is positive 1, kasi negative to eh. So you get 1/3 e raised to positive 1t, and then plus 3 multiplied by, so this is an s minus a term, diba? An s minus a term that is raised to 2. And based on the common table of Laplace transforms, wala tayong ganon. Right? So, ibig sabihin, papasok to kay e raised to 80 f of t. Which means, I have to remove the s minus a term by having an e raised to 80 in my answer. So, ang a natin dito is positive 1t. Which means, this will further be multiplied to the inverse Laplace of 1 na lang to kasi na-factor out ko na si 3. So, 1 all over. I have removed my s minus a term, which means I will replace it by s. Magiging s squared na lamang to. And then, for this term, wala tayong problema. Simple siya. So, minus 1/3 times the inverse Laplace of 1 na lang. Nilabas ko na to. 1 all over s minus 2, that's e raised to 80 ulit. So, you have e raised to, since positive to, magiging negative exponent natin dito, negative 2t. So, we're not done yet because we're still not done with this term. So, copying again my answers, you get 1/3 e raised to t plus 3 e raised to t. For this case, okay, so etong 1 over s squared natin, this will fall under the Laplace transform of t to the n. Okay, and this is simply equivalent to t, diba? This is t raised to 1. Kasi si t raised to 1, that would be equivalent to 1 factorial all over s raised to 1 plus 1. So, you have t for the inverse Laplace transform of 1 over s squared minus 1/3 e raised to negative 2t. So, this will be our final answer. For the last example, in inverse Laplace transform by PFD or partial fraction decomposition, we have here two factors. So, one is linear, that's s plus 1. The other one is quadratic. So, we're going to check if itong quadratic na to, if we can still further factor it. So, para madali, kunin nyo yung calculus nyo and take the roots of the quadratic equation. That's 1, code 5, 3. So, that's 1, 2, 10. And it shows you get a complex root. So, if it's a complex root, ibig sabihin, you do not have real roots for this particular trinomial, which means we will simply consider this as a quadratic factor. So, yung denominator mo has one linear factor and one quadratic factor. So, for quadratic factors, sabi natin, pag ginawa natin tong partial fractions, let me write it down. Your given is 9s squared all over s plus 1 times s squared plus 2s plus 10. So, I'm going to teach you two representations of your partial fractions. So, there are reference books that requires us na kapag daw po linear term siya, it's simply a, b, c. So, you have here a over s plus 1 for this linear term. Pero kung ang factor mo is quadratic, that would be in the form b times the variable. So, ang variable natin s, di ba? So, bs plus another constant c. So, every time meron kang denominator na quadratic, ganito yung form ng numerator natin. You will have two constants, sum of two terms siya, where one term is a first degree term, an s term, and the other term is a constant. So, you have bs plus c all over the quadratic denominator s squared plus 2s plus 10. So, kung meron ka pang isang quadratic factor, di magkakaroon ngayon dito ng plus, yung sunod sa c would be ds plus e, if ever meron ka pang isang quadratic factor. Okay? So, with this, anong gagawin natin? So, with this, ang gagawin natin is multiply both sides of the equation by the given denominator. So, that would be s plus 1 multiplied by s squared plus 2s plus 10. And on the left side, the denominator will be cancelled. We'll be left with 9s squared equal to a multiplied by s squared plus 2s plus 10 plus you have bs plus c, right? Multiplied by, this will be cancelled. So, you'll be left with s plus 1. With this, we're going to expand. So, you have there as squared plus 2as plus 10a plus, you have here bs squared plus bs plus cs plus c, right? bs squared plus bs plus cs plus c. Okay? Afterwards, we group together same degree terms or similar terms. So, we have s squared, and that's a plus b. If you factor out s squared, and then we have s terms, wherein your terms are 2a, your coefficients are 2a, b, and c, right? Multiplied by s, and then you'll be left with two constants, 10a plus c will be the representation of your constant, and on the left side, you get 9s squared. So, equating coefficients, you will get a plus b equal to 9. Kasi yun yung quadratic term natin dito is a plus b. Tapos yung quadratic term mo dito, ang coefficient niya is 9. And then our s term is 2a plus b plus c. Yung s term sa right side, equate sa s term sa left. Wala tayong s term dito, so that would be 0. And then, the last thing would be your constant, which is 10a plus c. But unfortunately, we do not have a constant on the left side, so 0 din ito. So, we're going to use our calculator to get the three unknowns, provided the three equations. So, we get 1, 1 in the sequence A, B, C. So, 1, 1, 0, we do not have C, and then 9. For this, we have 2, 1, 1, and the constant is 0. And then for this one, you get 10. And then we do not have B, but we have C, so 1, and then 0. So, we'll be able to get that A equals 1, B equals 8, and C equals negative 10. So, ibig sabihin, this will be A over S plus 1, that's 1 all over S plus 1, plus, we get B is 8, so 8 times S, plus C, which is negative 10, so 8S minus 10 all over, the denominator will be S squared plus 2S plus 10. Okay? So, an alternative representation would be the one we use in integral calculus. And that's 9s squared all over s plus 1 times s squared plus 2s plus 10. So, ano po yung sinasabi ko? Ganun pa rin. Pag linear yung factor mo, that will still be a all over s plus 1. Pero pag quadratic yung factor mo, ang ginagawa natin doon is, dinidifferentiate natin ito with respect to s, or diniderivative natin siya with respect to s. And this is 2s plus 2. So, ang gagawin mo doon, sa 2s plus 2 na yon, doon mo isisingit yung nawawalang yung constants na kailangan natin. Di ba we were formatting on bs plus c. So, magkakaroon ngayon dito ng 2bs, magiging 2bs siya plus 2c. Okay, kasi baka doon kayo nasanay, doon sa ginagawa natin sa integral, sa partial fraction decomposition. So, pwede pa rin yun dito sa Laplace transform. Yun pa rin ang denominator, s squared plus 2s plus 10. And then, I will show you na, kahit ito yung gamitin mo, ito pa rin yung lalabas na partial fraction niya. Okay? So, multiplying both sides by the denominator, you'll get 9s squared on the left side equal to a times this. So, times s squared plus 2s plus 10. And then, plus, you get 2bs plus 2c multiplied to this one, s plus 1, diba? If you multiply both sides by the denominator. After that, same pa rin. So, we're going to expand ulit and then group together like terms. So, you have there as squared plus 2as plus 10a plus, you get 2bs squared, 2bs squared plus 2bs and then 2cs and lastly, you get 2c. Tapos, we are going to group together similar terms. So, for s squared, you get a and 2b. So, a plus 2b s squared plus, for s, you have 2as, 2bs, and 2c. So, you have 2a plus 2b plus 2c all multiplied by s. So, cancel. And then, your last term will be the constant, which is 10a plus 2c. Equating this to your left side, which is 9a squared, we'll proceed with equating coefficients. So, for the s squared term, you have there a plus 2b. For the s squared term, ang coefficient is sa left side is 9. And then, for the s term, you have 2a plus 2b plus 2c. At wala kang s term sa left, kaya 0 ito. And then, your last equation would be the constant 10a plus 2c. But you do not have a constant on the left, so 0 din yan. And then, we're going to use our calculator to solve for a, b, and c. Okay? So, that would be 1, 2, 1, 2. We do not have c, so 0, and then 9. For this equation, you have 2, 2, 2, and 0. And for the last equation, you get 10, and then we do not have b, so that's 0, and c is 2. Constant is also 0. We press equals. We'll be able to get that a is equivalent to 1, b is equivalent to 4, and c will be equivalent to negative 5. Okay? Now, going back, pag sinubstitute mo ngayon to dito sa representation na to, you'll get 1 all over s plus 1, which is similar to this. And then, kapag sinubstitute mo na ngayon si values ni b and c dito naman, you will get 2 times b, which is 4s. So, that's 2 times 4s. 8s, same. Plus 2 times c, where c is negative 5. So, 2 times c is negative 5, that's negative 10. So, magiging 8s minus 10 pa rin to, similar doon. Okay, so pinakita ko lang na ganito yung ginagawa natin sa integral calculus because it is easier for us to represent the partial fraction with du in the numerator. Para hindi na tayo let you pa or magko-complete ng integrals kapag nagsasolve na tayo ng integration. So, kahit alin, pwede nyong gamitin. So, since I have written this here, dito na ako mag-i-inverse Laplace. So, ibig sabihin ito, this will be equivalent to the inverse Laplace transform of 1 all over s plus 1. Okay? Plus, so for this particular example, meron ako ditong denominator na trinomial na hindi siya perfect square trinomial. Pero pwede nating i-check kung pwede natin siyang i-completing the square. So, ang gagawin ngayon natin dito, this will be, we'll copy the numerator, that's 8s minus 10, all over. So, for completing the square, this is s squared plus 2s. We're going to divide the middle term by 2. That's 1, square it. That's positive 1. So, this is your perfect square trinomial. Kaso, ang given ay s squared plus 2s plus 10. So, what I'm going to do is, to complete the given, I have to add 9 in the denominator para maging 1 plus 9, 10 pa rin siya. Okay. Afterwards, this will be equivalent to the inverse Laplace transform of 1 all over s plus 1 plus 8s minus 10. Okay, sige. Wag muna natin isulat yung numerator. Over, so ipakita natin yung complete square natin dito. So, this is s plus 1 squared, right? This is s squared plus 2s plus 1 if you expand. So, it's similar. And then you get plus 9. Okay. Now, the idea here is, we've had this in the first video of inverse Laplace transform, that if you have sum of squares, ibig sabihin, papasok tayo sa either you have cosine kt or sine kt. So, since you have an s term in the numerator, ang gagawin natin ay isusunod natin yung s term na yon dun sa s minus a that is present in the denominator. Which means, yung s dito, I'm going to replace it by s plus 1. And then, I will try to expand this. If I expand this, this is 8s plus 8. Kaso, ang given dito is 8s minus 10. So, ibig sabihin, labis ako. Diba? Kailangan kong gumawa ng paraan para magkaroon ako ng negative 10. So, if this is equivalent to this, I have to subtract 18, right? Para maging ano siya, 8s plus 8 minus 18. Pag sinimplify mo, that's 8s minus 10. Okay? So, in doing that, magkakaroon ngayon tayo ng dalawang fractions for this particular set. So, ito magiging ano siya, inverse Laplace transform of 1 all over s plus 1 plus you get inverse Laplace transform of 8 times s plus 1 all over s plus 1 squared plus 9. And then you get minus inverse Laplace transform of 18. Positive na kasi nilabas ko yung negative sign. Pwede nyo rin namang ilabas na yung 18, yung constant. Walang problema. Depende yun sa style nyo po. Plus 9. Okay. Next. So, this is an e raised to 80 subsidiary function. So, pag in-inverse Laplace transform siya, that's e raised to 80. Where a is negative 1 kasi positive yung given dito. So, e raised to negative t. Plus, for this, I'm going to factor out 8. But since we noticed ulit that you have a binomial term in terms of s, okay, ibig sabihin, ano siya, pasok siya kay e raised to 80 of f of t, diba? So, ang gagawin natin, we're going to remove the s minus a term, okay, by having an e raised to 80 function. So, magiging e raised to, ang a natin yun dito is negative 1, same dito. Negative t. Kapag nailabas mo ngayon to, or na-inverse Laplace mo ngayon siya, ito yung lumabas, yung s minus a dito, papalitan na natin ng s. Ibabalik natin siya sa s. So, magiging inverse Laplace transform of, so, wala nang 8, na-factor out ko na siya. Yung s plus 1, mapapalitan na ng s all over s squared plus 9. Ayos? Okay. And then, for the last term, kasi constant yung nandito, ano? So, ang gawin natin, minus 18, nilabas ko na yung constant ko. Inverse Laplace transform of, I have s plus 1 squared plus 9. So, as you can notice, the difference between these two is that the numerator here is, contains the s variable, while the numerator here is simply a constant. So, kung sum of squares yan, obviously, ito ay papatak na cosine kt, while this other one will fall under sine kt. At kapag sine kt siya, dapat ang numerator niya ay k, diba? Pag nila-plus transform mo si sine kt, ang numerator niya will be k all over s squared plus k squared. So, yung k squared ko dito is 9. Ibig sabihin, if I take square root of my k squared, which is 9, I will get k equal to 3. Which means, para ito ay maibalik ko as sine kt, dapat may k siya dito, which is equivalent to 3. nilagyan ko ngayon. So, ibig sabihin, I manipulated the given. So, since nag-introduce ako ng 3 dito by multiplication, I'm going to divide this by 3 para mabalance yung given ko. This time, pwede na ako mag-inverse Laplace transform. And the answer will be e raised to negative t plus 8 e raised to negative t. And then again, sabi nga natin, this will fall under cosine kt. So, that would be cosine, where k is the square root of 9, and that's 3t. Okay, minus, simplifying 18 divide 3, that would be 6. And of course, ito, pinattern natin under sine kt. So, 6 e, pwedeng diretso na, diba? Kasi hindi ko na ilabas kanina. So, 6 e raised to negative t. So, magiging s squared na lang to plus 9. So, 3 all over s squared plus 9. Ibig sabihin, sine kt yun, where k is equivalent to 3. And therefore, this is our answer for this particular given.